Hey guys, this is Robert with Arizona EDH Players. I am bringing you an EDH deck profile. I have an Azusa Lost but Seeking deck. Technically it's Paul's, but he's working and I'm gonna do it for him. So his commander is Azusa Lost but Seeking. She is a 1/2 for 3 mana that allows you to play up to 2 additional lands each turn. She is a really fun commander. Anyway, here's the deck list. There is a Fauna Shaman in here. She grabs you all of your fatties out of the deck, and also she can be comboed with like Eldrazi's in response to things like Tormod's Crypt. Okay, so she's a great tutor for the deck. Omnath. The reason I'm using Azusa instead of Omnath is because I just like the land build instead of running a lot of snow-covered forests and things like Gauntlet of Power. Anyway, Omnath is just because there's a lot of forests in here. There's only 20 really, but he's just a great ramper. Yavimaya Elder is in here. He's really good for drawing cards, and also, since Azusa allows you to cheat lands into play, you can just like immediately play both lands he searches. Elvish Piper. Most builds don't say to run this. I really like this card because uncounterable fatties, like dropping Eldrazi's into play with this, is hilarious. Most people will be too distracted by this card to realize things like that are really in your hand are more threatening than her. Most people will go after her when really she's not the problem. Oracle of Mul Daya, just self-explanatory, an additional land each turn. So with Azusa, you can play 4 lands a turn and play them from the top of the deck. Acidic Slime, just destruction power. And Death Touch. Kill 2 things. Steel Hellkite is a really fun card in this deck because he can board wipe people sometimes. Like, pay 0, destroy all your tokens just because you couldn't block it. Things like that. It gets nutty. Wurmcoil Engine. He's a really good 6/6 for 6 that breaks in half. So he keeps going even after he dies. Duplicant. Because this deck is mono green, can't run things like Path to Exile to deal with indestructible creatures. This guy is really good for dealing with cards like Ulamog. Rampaging Baloths. Since this deck is a land deck, landfall can be pretty vicious in here. So, I mean, like there's some turns where I drop 5 lands and get 5/4 forest for it with this guy, and he's already a 6/6 for 6 on his own, so with trample. Platinum Angel prevents you from losing games. Usually I like to equip her with things to make it so she's hexproof or shroud, and it's really hard for people to deal with her. Like when she comes out, people like kind of scramble to kill her. Giant Adephage, trample whenever, so he makes copies of himself. In a multiplayer game, he can be pretty stupid because what ends up happening is there's always that one player who gets like tunnel visioned and just gets everyone's going after him because like they're being hated out of the group. This card, you just swing at them. Oh, now I have 2 7/7s that duplicate, and they get out of hand very quickly. Avenger of Zendikar. Since this deck is also a land deck, usually Avenger of Zendikar can drop up to like 14 tokens, like really easily, and then like they get even bigger because of the landfall. Like he wins games. Vorinclex, because why not? Double mana, half like make it so your land doesn't untap if you use it. Most people are scared to shit of this card. Terastodon, destroy cards. What is it? Any non-creature permanents. This card is good for locking people down. It really doesn't matter if they get 3 elephant tokens. You probably killed bigger creatures with, or bigger cards with it. Woodfall Primus. This card is great. When he comes in, he just destroys a non-creature permanent, and he has persist, so he comes in, destroys something, and then if he dies, he like comes back and destroys another card with a -1/-1. If you do that, and if you have Oran Reef the Vastwood out, he loses the -1/-1 and keeps persisting. Worldspine Wurm. This card is just dumb and stupid. And it's stupid and it's dumb. It's a 15/15 trampler that breaks into 3/5/5s and shuffles back into the deck when he dies. Here are the Eldrazi's. I run... God, why is it so blurry? There it goes. Woo! Alright. Oh my god, it's so blurry. Okay, I have an Artisan of Kozilek. Sorry about the blur. Stupid focus. There it goes. When you cast him, you get to put a creature from your grave. When you cast him, you get to draw 4 cards, Annihilator 4. We run Ulamog, destroys a permanent when he comes in, and he's indestructible. And It That Betrays. Now, this card, a lot of people don't run it. Because he's Annihilator 2, and he's the second most expensive Eldrazi in the game. But his second ability is ridiculous. God, it's so blurry. There it goes. Okay. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put it onto the battlefield under your control. So even if the card was tapped, it comes in untapped because it comes from grave to play. This is great if you have another Eldrazi out. Like, normally, if I get Tooth and Nail entwined, I'll grab It That Betrays and Ulamog and just swing and take 6 of your permanents. Now, on to Planeswalkers, I only run 2. I run Garruk Wildspeaker because why not? And Karn Liberated because he's just stupid. Like, if you get his ultimate off, like, how do you lose? It's, like, really fucking hard. Exploration. You may play an additional land each turn. These are my enchantments. This card, combine it with Azusa, you get to play 4 lands a turn. Sylvan Library. Draw cards. Woo, because green needs more draw power. Now, Oath of Druids. This is kind of my personal touch on the deck. Most people that run this deck do not run Oath of Druids because it has the opportunity to give your opponent an advantage. But as you just saw, I pretty much run only fatties and 3 creatures that are lower than 4 mana. So what ends up happening is, since this deck doesn't run a whole lot of low cost things, I'm almost always going to be behind on creatures, so it always benefits me. And the odds are that I have a 1 in 5 chance of hitting anything that costs less than 5. And this card's just dumb, and it's really funny. Okay, Survival of the Fittest, because tutoring into things is awesome. Defense of the Heart, this card is nuts. Grab 2 creatures from your deck during your upkeep. If an opponent controls 3 or more creatures. So if you're playing a 4-way game, if any of the 3 players control 3 or more creatures, you get to just get 2 Eldrazi's. It's nuts. Lurking Predators, since this deck runs so many fatties, and also this card combos off with Sensei's Divining Top, because if your opponent casts a spell, you can chain Sensei's Divining Top to look at the top 3 cards, and pretty much just put a creature from those 3 cards on top, and then go, oh, hey, Lurking Predators trigger. Okay, so artifacts. Here's a Sensei's Divining Top. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. It's just deck manipulation. It's really good. Especially when you have, Oracle of Mul Daya, Azusa, and a bunch of other crap that just, oh my god, this card's nuts. Mutavault. Mana ramp for 1 mana. Make 3 mana for 1 colorless. And, sure, it does 1 damage to you every turn, whatever. Pithing Needle. This card is great against most commanders. Colorless mana to shut down a deck that relies on its commander. Just go Kali of the Vast. Okay, no, you're gonna have to hard cast all of your demons and angels. Sol Ring, because self-explanatory. Amulet of Vigor. This deck runs a few cards that combo off if they don't come into play tapped. Like, Thawing Glaciers with this card is stupid. It's really dumb. This card just, oh my god. Relic of Progenitus. This is a tech card. I love it. It's just draws you a card, and it's Tormod's Crypt that draws you a card. It's really kind of what it is. Brittle Effigy. Most people don't like this. I love it. It's a 5 mana exile a creature because you have to cast it for 1 and 4 more to use its ability. Swiftfoot Boots. Haste, like giving your creatures like haste for 1 extra mana. Like you just keep moving it around to new creatures you drop in. It's funny. Or putting it on a Platinum Angel. Crucible of Worlds, because the strip mine loop with Azusa, strip mine 4 lands, and just it gets stupid. Whispersilk Cloak, unblockable creatures, like unblockable Eldrazi's is just ridiculous. Rings of Brighthearth, there are so many activated abilities in this deck that this card just combos with, it just gets crazy. Horn of Greed, this card is great in multiplayer games, because I think I've only had it countered 1 time, and most of the time people won't counter it because they think it benefits them, and it does, but when I can play 4 lands a turn, I draw 4 cards. It's retarded. It's such an advantage for this deck. The Veneral's Disc, because if I'm getting screwed over, nothing's better than being able to destroy everything. Staff of Din, draw extra cards, and it pings stuff for damage. Mindslaver, because this card screws over everybody. For instance, I have a crop rotation. I'll get into this later. This card just, it's really good to search out a lot. Like, all my lands. It's nuts. I run 48 lands and only 20 of them are basics. Worldly Tutor. Grab a fatty. Momentous Fall is really good, especially when someone plays a card that like takes control of an Eldrazi, because you just respond with Momentous Fall, sacrifice it, draw a ridiculous amount of cards, and they wasted an enchantment. Green Sun Zenith, just a tutor. Like, it really doesn't matter if you send Azusa back to the deck, because I can just Green Sun it back in, I can Worldly Tutor, Fauna Shaman, it's really easy to get things out. Sylvan Scrying. This card's a land tutor for any land. It's really good. Life from the Loam. I use this because in combo with Azusa and Crucible of Worlds and stuff like that, you can just go nuts. Like, really, if you mill Buried Ruin and Crucible of Worlds, it's uphill from there. Journey of Discovery. It's a really good card because you can just go like, oh, well, if I have a lot of lands, I can just do the second effect, or if you want to do Entwine, you could do it that way. Or if you have Azusa out, you can just search them and then put them into play with Azusa's ability. Genesis Wave, because sometimes this deck can make ridiculous amounts of mana. Harmonize, draw, I think it's 3 cards for 4 mana. It's a really good card. Natural Order. Most of the time I will cast this on either Azusa or, if I have it at the time, Yavimaya Elder. Natural Order to go grab Vorinclex is really funny. Or Worldspine Wurm. That's a really fun card too. Primal Command. Just this card's really fun. I love it. It does a lot of stuff. All the commands are good. Tooth and Nail. Search your library for 2 creatures, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or you can put up to 2 creatures from your hand into play. Now, it has the Entwine for 2 extra, so for 9 mana, you can go grab any 2 creatures from your deck and put them into play. So, oh my god, it's fun. Here's the 20 basics. Okay. Here are mirror lands. I have a Vesuva and a Thespian Stage. Vesuva and Thespian Stage are awesome. You'll see why, because they mimic a lot of ridiculous cards, and they're really good. Verdant Catacombs. I wish I had more fetches than Verdant and then the two right here. Because when you have Horn of Greed out, like, you play it, draw a card, fetch, draw another card, and then you can go, like, if you have Crucible out, you just play it again, draw a card, fetch, draw another card, you draw 4 cards off of that. It's really dumb. And fetches just get you, like, they deck then. I run an Evolving Wilds and a Terramorphic as well. Okay, so I'm running Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. This card screws over a lot of aggro decks, because most aggro decks are not like this one. And by that, I mean they rely on a bunch of little creatures instead of a couple big creatures. So what ends up happening is I pay 2 mana to keep my Vorinclex and Azusa, and, like, token decks just shut down. Like, they have to choose between keeping their tokens or never casting anything again, and it gets nuts. This card locks people down, and it's awesome. Yavimaya Hollow, utility card. It adds a colorless, or you can use it to regenerate a creature. It's really fun. Mosswort Bridge. The hideaway on this is, like, the conditions of the hideaway are really easy to meet. And most of the time you'll hit a fatty on the top of the deck with it. So all you have to do is have creatures with a combined power of 10 or greater. So if you have, like, all you need is, like, Azusa and creatures that add up to 9 more power to drop it. So, like, really it's like 1 or 2 more creatures. And then you just cheat another creature into play. Underneath the Vastwood. This card is great for a lot of reasons. Especially if you run, like, if you copy, like, this with Thespian Stage or Vesuva. If you get, what is it, Woodfall Primus. This card combos with Woodfall Primus, and it does a lot of other stuff. Oh my god. Buried Ruin. Sacrifice Buried Ruin. Yeah, it just returns your artifacts from grave. So just get back your Crucible, play Buried Ruin again, and just keep going. Reliquary Tower. No maximum hand size. Just every EDH deck should run this. High Market. I love this card because of the amount of fatties this deck runs. And most people that run blue run a lot of spells that take control of your creatures. And there's also, I believe there's a few commanders that take control of other commanders. So with this one, you just sacrifice it, like, in response, like, what is it, you just, if they take control of it, you just tap it, sacrifice the creature they're targeting so they don't get to have it. Thawing Glaciers. This card is, it's a fetch land every other turn. If you have Amulet of Vigor, you get to search, like, on the turn it comes out. It gets crazy. Wasteland, because nothing's better than land hate in a land deck. Strip Mine, same story. Dust Bowl, same story. Tectonic Edge, same story. So here are the double mana producers. There's an Ancient Tomb in here. Getting out Azusa on turn 2, it makes the deck explosive. So being able to, like, drop her in fast is awesome. So we run a Temple of the False God as well. Just 2 mana. If you don't, like, this card's really easy to make the conditions meet. Like, turn 3. And this card is really good for Azusa. Usually if I draw it, I'll play it turn 1, and then I'll play Forests. Maze of Ith. This card's great for damage mitigation. Slows down people. And also, if you copy it with Vesuva or Thespian Stage, you can have 2. So you can stop 2 creatures at a time. Ice Flow. For commanders that require attacking, like, you're going to only get 1 attack off and then just keep shutting them down. And I believe this is the last card, Rishdom Port. This card slows down a lot of decks, especially if they get mana screwed. It just makes inconsistent decks even more inconsistent. So anyway, if you guys like this video, you guys should let me know, and we can try and get you a featured deck profile on the Arizona EDH players page. Thanks for watching, guys.